Hey everyone, this is weather forecaster Liam with another forecast video on now Category 3 Hurricane Dorian, and it's planned to get even stronger. Going to have the very latest info from the National Hurricane Center and what the forecast models are telling us about Dorian, and also TRA weather predictions and what you need to do to prepare for Hurricane Dorian. Going to have everything you need to know coming up on TRA weather. Alright, here's the latest update from the National Hurricane Center. Dorian is moving northwest at now 9 miles an hour and has maximum sustained winds of 115 miles an hour. That's a major Category 3 hurricane. There are hurricane watches and warnings now for the Bahamas, and is expected to make landfall very late Monday night now on the U.S. mainland as a possible Category 4 hurricane. And the three last forecasted times you see there is a full 72 hours. Some areas could be seeing hurricane conditions for over 24 hours straight with very heavy rainfall. And here are the key messages the National Hurricane Center and NOAA want to address to us. First, life-threatening storm surge and devastating hurricane-force winds are likely in portions of the northwestern Bahamas, where a hurricane watch and now warnings are in effect. Residents should execute their hurricane plan and listen to advice given by local emergency officials. 2. Life-threatening storm surge and devastating hurricane-force winds are likely along portions of the Florida East Coast by early next week, but it is too soon to determine where the highest storm surge and winds will occur. Residents should have their hurricane plan in place, know if they are in a hurricane evacuation zone, and listen to advice given by local emergency officials. 3. A prolonged period of storm surge, high winds, and rainfall is likely in portions of Florida into next week, including the possibility of hurricane-force winds over inland portions of the Florida peninsula. 4. And the last one, heavy rain are expected over portions of the Bahamas, Florida, and elsewhere in the southeastern United States this weekend and into the middle of next week. So, are you prepared? Here's some tips to know before a disaster strikes. 1. Make an emergency communication plan. Where to go, what to do, and how to reconnect. 2. Make sure you know your community's evacuation plan and evacuation routes. I'm going to put those in the description of this video in case you do not know them. I'm going to put them in for Florida and also Georgia. 3. Collect and safeguard critical financial, medical, educational, and legal documents and records, preferably in a waterproof safe. 4. Pack an emergency kit including items such as water, food, flashlights, medications, and cell phone chargers. 5. Know where your gas shutoff valve and electrical shutoff are located. And last one, protect your pets by making an emergency plan and kit for them too. Also, here's some hurricane preparation for your house and car. Keep all trees and shrubs well trimmed. Those tree limbs that are loose could come off and fly into your house and break a window, and you could get seriously injured. Place valuables and personal papers in a waterproof container on the highest level of your home. Cover windows with a hurricane shutters or pre-cut plywood. Create a ready kit with enough supplies for at least 3 days. Consider needs of children, pets, and the elderly. Develop an evacuation plan and where to reconnect with family. Fill the gas tank. Set refrigerator to the coldest setting in case your power goes out. You want your food to stay cold for as long as possible. And bring in all outdoor furniture and anything else that is not secured. Okay, now over to the hurricane forecast model tracks. Now it may seem like a lot are moving to the east before making landfall, but actually most are just turning around after making landfall. There are only 3 models that take it to the east instead of making landfall in Florida. But there has been a slight and slow trend with the models that may be suggesting that it would take a turn to the east sooner than expected. But I have seen the models do this 4 to 5 times now, and they just go back to making landfall in eastern Florida, then turning east. But it's something to keep an eye on. but don't look at just one of these models that doesn't have you in it and say, oh, I'm not going to get hit. There is a lot more models suggesting that it will make landfall in Florida rather than not. As you see now with the GFS model runs, with every model run, yes, every single one, has it making landfall on the East Florida coast. And I know the intensity is off, but we are looking at the location with this model, not exactly the intensity. Now, how exactly strong could Dorian get? Well, most of the hurricane models are showing Dorian as a low to mid-grade Category 4 hurricane at landfall, but there are a few that keep it at a 3. With over 48 hours over warm waters and favorable conditions, I seriously don't think this will stay a Cat 3 for much longer. And here's when you can expect the first arrival of tropical storm force winds. For pretty much central and south Florida, it will be as early as Sunday afternoon and Sunday night for central Florida, and then Monday for northern Florida and southeastern Georgia. So Florida, you have a 75% chance or better for seeing tropical storm force winds, with that bullseye in southeastern and very eastern Florida. And as the storm would move north, Georgia now has a 20 to 45% chance of seeing tropical storm force winds in that greenish yellow shaded area. But what about hurricane force winds? 74 miles an hour or greater. The best area at this time is southeastern Florida at about 50%. Now over to the rainfall and how much Dorian could produce. This is the GFS model. It is showing a pretty similar picture it did last time, keeping most of the rainfall to the east. In southeast Georgia getting the same amount at around a foot of rain, but it's now extended into the Carolinas. Now let's hope this forecast doesn't come true, because this is a lot of rain across a very large area of land, across multiple states. This is now the GDPS model, and this one isn't actually too different in rainfall amounts, but it is different in location of the rain. It moves in more towards the east, leaving Florida, Georgia, and the Carolinas with only up to about 8 inches at most. And this is the last one. This one is NOAA's. NOAA keeps the rain towards Florida and doesn't give as much rain to Georgia and the Carolinas as the GFS does. Okay, here are your TRA weather predictions for Hurricane Dorian. We have every single shade of color on this map. Let's start with the light blue, the highest risk, and that is for East Central Florida, where Dorian is most likely to make landfall. One major city that is in East Central Florida and the highest risk is Daytona Beach. And the area shaded in pink is an incredible risk. And the cities that are shaded in pink are Jacksonville, Orlando, West Palm Beach, and Miami. And now the area shaded in purple at very high risk is Tampa and Savannah, Georgia. Charleston, you are just outside of that very high risk, but you are very close. Now to the high risk area: Tallahassee, Charleston, Myrtle Beach, and Wilmington. And now to the medium risk area, and only one city is included in that, and that is the city of Atlanta. And the low risk is only one city as well, and that is Mobile, Alabama. Birmingham, you are just outside of that low risk area. And now to your TRA weather prediction for Dorian flooding. Let's start with the highest risk again. We have a very high risk for the area shaded in purple is Miami, West Palm Beach, Orlando, Daytona Beach, Jacksonville, and Savannah. And then we have an area shaded in red, quite a large area. We have Tampa, Charleston, Myrtle Beach, and Wilmington. We have only one major city in the medium flood risk, and that is Tallahassee. And also one city included in the next flood risk, which is a low flood risk, which is Atlanta. Okay, here's about Hurricane Dorian. Tornadoes will be high. When it comes to tornadoes and hurricanes, there's already so much spin up in the atmosphere. They just happen very frequently. So that's why tornadoes are high. Hail will be medium. Flooding will be very high. Wind will be incredible. That is the highest rank you can get. Lightning will be medium. Power outages will also be incredible. Wind shear is low, and that is actually not good. You want high wind shear to tear apart these hurricanes. In fact, there's almost no wind shear out there at all, so that is not good. And water temperature is very high. And the storm info is for Sunday through Thursday. The highest threat is wind, and the lowest threat is wind shear. Dorian is still more than 3 days away from making landfall, so there is still time to prepare. If you live in Florida or southeastern Georgia and haven't seen it yet, I will put the evacuation zones link in this description. I will have one more updated video on Hurricane Dorian before it does make landfall. In 24 hours before it does make landfall, I will have a live HD Doppler radar feed up on TRA Weather, also with live storm cameras and occasional updates by me. Like and subscribe to TRA Weather if you haven't already, and hit the bell to get notifications for when I have another video out or for when I go live. Stay safe, everyone.